Welcome back. With us now is John Cameron. We are talking about the Shelby County Environmental Court. We've kind of gone through the history and what the court does. You know, as far as what comes to mind with all of the building codes and stuff that's going on right now, with the different windstorms that we've seen this spring and trees coming through houses and all, you know, I would assume there's the typical case where a tenant's being mistreated or something substandard on that. But what happens with a property owner that, you know, trees pretty much demolished a portion of the house, and you know, the insurance company isn't doing anything with the property? What do the neighbors do in that case, and how does that intersect with your court?
It's a tough one. I mean, that's a tough call, but here's ways that it could progress. If the tree remained through the house for any substantial period of time, I mean, I would think even just in a matter of months, then it's very possible that person could be cited by the Housing Code Department to come before our court. We would then ask them, why is the property not fixed at this point? And they might rightly say, well, the homeowner's insurance is not paying out. And in that case, we're going to work with that person. Mm-hmm. We're not going to bring down the hammer of justice upon them. We're going to probably ask, could you bring in any information you have related to your claim, everything that you've done on your part to try to get this taken care of, and from there, you know, we would give that person enough time to see that things progressed along smoothly. If the property, just for whatever reason, was never taken care of, we would probably then require that person to bring in a work plan for how they were going to get it taken care of, mm-hmm. Either by demolishing it or by repairing it. The condemnation process actually works administratively outside of our courtroom, so that houses that are marked for demolition by the city is carried out by the city's Division of Community Enhancement. Those cases do not come before us, although there are many cases that come before us where the end result is a demolition by the city, and that could be cases brought by the fire department under the anti-neglect code. Those are largely commercial property or multifamily residential. Or say a case that was brought on some housing violation. I give the example of a house that was up in North Memphis where the walls of the house, it was not the original house on the property, it was something that had been torn down and built there probably in the 70s or 80s, a little brick structure. The walls were actually bowing out so that if you were standing in the room, there'd be a little triangular sliver where you could look outside. And, you know, she was initially cited to court because the walls were bowing out. But eventually the house had to be torn down because it presented a danger not only to the homeowner but to the people in the houses around it, because in that area there's not a lot of space between houses. That's in the case of a property that's in a really bad shape. You know, more typical would be someone who, say, they're accumulating junk. You look in their backyard and they've got appliances, tires stacked up, old refrigerators, 2 or 3 different cars, maybe 4 or 5 different cars. Mm-hmm. In that case, what we would typically do is try to find out when can you get this done. And if the person doesn't get it done in a short enough amount of time, we could put them under court order to get it done, and they risk the chance of going to jail if they don't. In cases where someone is disabled or maybe elderly, if they're either unwilling or if they're unable, either by money or physical ailment, to get things done, we'll try to look at other civil service agencies. We'll ask the person if they're a member of a church that could help them. We try to find something to help that person if it's just something that's beyond or at least out of their control. And we're looking at even better ways of doing that. Maybe starting a program through the court where we have sort of interviews with people to determine their ability to take care of the problem that they have, which would end up saving us problems on the back end. A lot of times we get people who come in and they're going to get it done, and the more we find out, the more we realize that they're not going to get it done, and that case drags on for a year maybe.
Yeah, and then I guess one thing that I've always had some clients talk about with environmental court is where they're in the process over in the civil court of evicting a tenant, and then the tenant goes and does something with code or whatever and winds up over in environmental court, and then it gets into sort of this thing of trying to use the system to stall the other side of the system. How does that all function?
And that's interesting. It's a very interesting scenario, and I've probably seen it 4 or 5 times, where you have the tenants who are in the process of being evicted because either they didn't pay rent or something, and they can rightly claim, well, the reason I stopped paying rent was because of I had no heat or I had no air. And then the landlord will say, well, I tried to fix the air, but you wouldn't let me in the house. And, the case before our court really has legally not much to do with whatever FED is going on in another court. But at the same time, we try to be aware of that, try to be, know that there's 2 sides to every story. And in that case, we try to work with the person who is the person cited in court and understand maybe why the case is as complex as it might appear. Those cases often come in with one side, but as the case progresses, both sides of the story become more apparent, I should say.
And that's the way it is in almost any legal case.
Sure.
But our time is up for this edition of Legalese. I'd like to thank our guest for taking time out of his busy schedule to be with us and for sharing his thoughts and insights. If you'd like more information about Legalese or any other program on GHS TV, please refer to our website at www.ghstv.org. Thank you for joining us today, and be sure to join us next month for more discussion on legal topics. Till then, I am Vince Perryman, and thank you for watching.